Jim Klauck here on Contractor Stories with another great contractor. His name is Tim Fitzpatrick. Tim, how are you?
I'm doing well, Jim. Good to see you again.
It is great to have you here on the program. Fitzpatrick Painting and Construction. Why don't we start with how you got into the business, how long you've been doing it as well, because I understand you've been doing it since you were a teenager.
That's correct. Yep. Yeah. Got into the business when I was 19 years old, Jim. Grew up back east in Connecticut, had no idea what I was going to do with my life. And a friend of my father's told him that I could make $100 a day painting houses in Oregon. So I moved to Oregon with my folks. This was in June of 1994. Packed up the U-Haul and made the trip across country to Oregon. Got to Corvallis, Oregon. I wasn't making $100 a day. I wasn't making anything a day. I didn't have a job. So I went around, started applying for jobs and ended up getting hired by a bucket and brush. I call him bucket and brush, he was just a one guy operation, painted out of the back of his van. And he hired me. I think it was $9 an hour I was making back then. Hired me to paint houses and worked with this guy for a couple of us, and he's just a good old boy, cussing and swearing and yelling at me all the time. And I thought, you know what? If this schmuck can do it, I could do it too.
Yep.
So I sat down at my parents' dining room table and I took it was literally an open book test. It probably took me like 45 minutes to get my contractor's license back in 1994. I've since learned it's more of a process now here in Oregon. But I got my contractor's license, put an ad in the newspaper. It was called the Who's Who Directory. I think it cost me $150 a month or something like that, which was, was big time for a 19-year-old kid. And got my first job. Still had no idea what I was doing. I remember one of the first jobs I did was a wallpaper job for a sweet little old lady. She hired me to wallpaper her bathroom. I think I charged her $250. And I still can't believe to this day that she paid me. And I remember the first exterior I did. I remember it's a painter's terms, but when the paint flashes, it's when you're painting and you stop where you're going to get buildup on the house. And I remember looking at the house and I was done. I was like, I don't think it's supposed to look like that. But they paid me. So,
Wow.
just one thing led to another. And through the school of hard knocks, I learned the trade. I think I became a good painter relatively quickly. And then we did roofing too. I called myself Tim Fitzpatrick Contract Painting and Roofing way back then. And I figured out real quick that roofing was going to make an old man out of me. So we quit the roofing and we just became Fitzpatrick Painting. And now, of course, we're Fitzpatrick Painting and Construction, Jim, as you know.
It's interesting.
That's just a little background. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So, it's interesting how our businesses evolve. We have a common friend, Tommy Mello. And I don't know if you know this about him. He's in the garage door business, but how he started in it was painting garage doors. Did you know that?
I didn't know that Tommy painted garage doors.
That was the beginning. He started painting garage doors for people, and then he got into the business. And I bring this up because a lot of home service professionals start off doing something like pressure washing, painting, handyman work. And then inevitably what happens, Tim, is the homeowner falls in love with you, not necessarily your services. You do a good job with the services, but they like you. They know, like, and trust you. And they're like, hey, Tim, you did a great job on my wallpaper. Can you tile my bathroom? And you're like, sure. Right. And then you get into that and you're like, we have a roof leak. Yeah, we can do that. And then you start doing all this stuff, but then eventually you're like, we need to start shaving it off. And this is what we do now. And that's what happened to you, right?
Yeah, 100%. I remember back in the day, Jim, I would do just about anything and everything that somebody would ask me to do because I wanted to make money, right? So if it was something that I felt like was in my wheelhouse, I would do it. I didn't have a problem with that. You mentioned you use the term know, like, and trust. And I never heard that until just the last few years. I don't know. I've probably known that term for 5-10 years. But if you would have talked to my 19-year-old self, I wouldn't have been able to tell you that people do business with people they know, they like, and they trust. But that's so true. But at 19 years old, I didn't know it, but I had that knack. I had that ability to connect with people and for them to get to know, to like, and to trust 19-year-old Tim. And I did that through a number of different facets. I remember as probably a 20-year-old, I remember rolling up to a customer's house, and I was very particular with my vehicle. I drove a 1998 Ford F-150. I had a trailer behind it with vinyl lettering, and I kept that thing immaculate, painted out of the truck. And you couldn't tell I did because there was never paint on it. And I remember to this day, I can see the guy, I can see him standing in his driveway. And he said to me, he said, Tim, anybody that drives a vehicle that keeps it that clean has got to will definitely do a good job on my house. And he hired me right there on the spot. I didn't know that what I was doing was actually bonding rapport, and I was actually building trust through my vehicle, through my appearance, how I kept myself, how I kept my vehicle. But then, as you fast forward and you look back, you're like, oh yeah, that's what I was doing. I didn't realize that.
Absolutely. People buy from people. They do. So that customer felt it was important to hire someone who had their stuff together. It looked like you were organized and clean.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good hot button for that customer. Other customers might say they can't be a painter if there's not paint in the bed all over the place. It needs to look like a piece of art where they spattered everything because it looks like they're busy and they're working. So I think it depends upon the expectation, but I would always go with the clean cut look, including you as that technician, right? You need to show up with a nice logoed shirt, clean cut, try to keep the tattoos off the neck if you can. Because all these things, people will have an impression, and it's always better to be on the cleaner side, because a lot of people say, well, I want to be me. The problem with being me is me might not be attractive to many. So I'm assuming your technicians out there, the people who work for you, look similar to you as far as being clean cut. You look great on camera here. And
oh, thanks, Jim.
Yeah, and
you don't look so bad yourself.
Thanks. I would say that's really important, as well as vehicles. I'm assuming that the vehicles that you drive out there, your team members are driving out there, are respectable vehicles.
Yeah, they are. It's interesting you say that, Jim, because they say, actually, was that a Sprite commercial? I think image is everything. Obey your thirst, or did I just think that up in my head? Maybe it wasn't a commercial, but maybe it
sounds good.
It sounds good, right? Yeah, image is everything. Obey your thirst. How does that have anything to do with image? I have no idea. But anyway, we do want to. I don't want to appeal to the masses. I don't want to appeal to the people that want to hire the bucket and brush guy. Johnny that paints out of the back of his truck that has paint splattered all over the van. That's fine. Nothing against him. There are people that do want that service. But what we want to appeal to is the people that want a higher level service. They're willing to pay the extra to have the company that they know is professional. They know they're neat. They know they're clean. They know that the guys coming to their home, they're not looking at him going, oh my gosh, is this guy going to steal my electric bike in the garage or anything else? Not everybody wants that image. Some people, they just want the bottom line. Give me the cheapest bid. And that's totally fine. And that's not who we appeal to. The customers are hiring. Most of our customers that hire us, they're not looking for the cheap bid. They're looking for quality. Believe it or not, they're probably looking, part of it is they're looking for that image, and they don't even know it. But they know, like, yeah, I want somebody professional. And then they see my folks roll up, my sales guys, they're neat, they're clean, they're professional, they have a uniform on, they don't have tattoos on their neck, like you said. Nothing against anybody if you have a tattoo on your neck. But like you said, not everybody likes a tattoo on the neck.
Yeah. And that's not your image. I'm going to bet that many of your customers give you the code to their front door or a key to their house. They trust you that much. Is that true?
100%. I can't say how many keys we've had over the years and codes, and 100%.
Yeah. And that tells you a lot about how they feel about you. And something else that's great about that, and this is for everyone who hasn't done what Tim's been able to do over the decades, which is build a fantastic business, is that when you have a relationship with a homeowner customer like that, they're going to tell other like customers, their neighbors in that neighborhood, 750 to $1.5 million homes. Let's say that's, where you want to be. Okay. Depends upon where you are in the country, but you want to be on kind of that higher level, home level. When you do a great job like you guys do, Tim, the neighbor doesn't want to just help you. They want to help their neighbor. So your customer wants to help their neighbor. And so they refer you, and they're not going to refer you if you're going to make them look bad. So that's how good you have to be. And I bet you get good referral business.
We do. I don't know what the referral base, it's probably, I think it's upwards of 60, 70% of our customers are actually referral.
Wow.
Repeat or referral. It's a significant amount.
That is substantial, and that's important. A lot of people will say that's not that important. I'll just throw more money at advertising, promotion, marketing like Google or something. And you've built a business that's over $15 million a year in painting and what I'll call, light construction. You're not building a home, but you remodel kitchens and bathrooms and so forth, right? So you're doing some interior construction, maybe some exterior stuff. You're not building the house, and you do a lot of painting and work like that. And a $15 million business is a respectable business. And to get the majority of your business from referral and repeat business says a lot. You're running a large business that sounds like it's getting business like a small business. So when you first started out, you weren't buying big ads. You were hoping to get referral business, but you still are.
Yeah. And I could have those numbers skewed. One thing I guess it's good and bad on both fronts. As you grow, I can't tell you, I'm kind of diverting here, squirrels, so just keep running in front of my screen, squirrels and butterflies, right? But I can't tell you how many customers over the years have come up and said, "Oh yeah, Tim, thanks so much. You painted our house. It looks great." And I look at them, I'm like, I have no idea who you are. And I didn't know that we worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
As you grow, you take your hands off of a lot of the levers that you used to have your hands on, and marketing being one of them. I've got a CMO that handles all of that. And, I'm going to go in his office after this call and share with him what I shared with you. And he's either going to say, "Yeah, Tim, that was actually accurate. Those percentages are right." Or he may say, "No, dude, you're way off." But as we grow and we put different people in those seats, it allows us to step back, and we don't have the same, I'm not handling it. I don't handle the marketing anymore. Obviously I don't paint anymore. I used to be the guy. I would sell the job. I would market the job. I would sell the job. I would paint the job. I would invoice. I did all of it. Now I don't do any of that. I work on the company instead of actually working in the company with those various tasks. So anyway, that was kind of a little bit of a digress.
Yeah. And the good news about those numbers that you quoted me, even if they're not accurate, the thought process is good, because if you believe that you get that much referral and repeat business, that's good, because you are then running your business at the top, going down with that in mind. You can save so much money in marketing and advertising expenses if you can get the majority of your business from repeat and referral. And there's nothing wrong with that too. People say, "Oh no, you've got to spend, 5 to 10% of all your revenue on advertising, marketing, promotion, and you got to buy this and buy that and so forth." And I'm telling you, if you can get your business from repeat and referral, you don't have to worry about that other stuff. I mean, what are you really in business for? To spend money or to make money?
Yeah. I agree with you, Jim, but I also think depending on what your goal is with your business, that's going to determine how much you're going to be spending on marketing. I don't care how much repeat business you get, how much referral business you get. If you want to continue to grow to the next level, you're going to have to spend the money on the marketing and that sort of thing, regardless of what those numbers look like. And a company like ours, we are growing. I shared with you, 15 is the number this year. Next year, we're going to do $20 million. In business, and we're going to be in other markets. You're not going to do that just from repeat business and referral business. There's going to be marketing dollars. It's going to be a science around it. There's going to be budget, that sort of thing, that's going to allow you to get to that next level. But that's not for everybody. Talking with Tommy, actually, I was just on a webinar with him before this call, and Tommy mentioned he was talking to some business owner, and I think the business owner said, like, "Oh, I want to grow my business to $100 million." And Tommy was like, "No, you don't. You say you want to do that, but you're married. You've got 2 kids." And Tommy was like, I'm not married. I've got no kids. I've got no life, like no social life. He's got a life. He's got a great life, but no social life. Like Tommy, he was in the office, hours and hours every single day. So it all depends on what is your goal. I don't want to be a billionaire. I don't want to grow the company to $100 million. My management team, they have goals. I support them in those goals. But I think a lot of people, they get stuck on, oh, I want to grow. But they really don't know why they want to grow or what for. They just know, oh, I want to make more money. Well, that's cool. But what do you want to make more money for? And if you make more money, what are you going to do with that? What's the next step?
You know, I've thought a lot about this. It's probably because I don't have a lot of money, but I do okay. Okay. I do okay. But money is the only thing I can think of. The only thing I can think of that you could work toward to get more of. So for instance, if I want to lose weight, I can only lose so much weight before I die. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's finite. If I want to gain weight, once again, I can only gain so much muscle. I only have so much free time. That's also limited. But the only thing that I can think of for the most part is money. That's something you can always get more of. And I think it's kind of a curse because there's no end. I'll ask people, when's enough? It's not. So when I make $1 million, I'm going to go for 2. When I have 2, I'm going for 4, then 8, then $1 billion, then 2 billion. I'm like, you don't have an end game? Of course not, Jim. There's no end. And I'm like, everything else has an end, including your life. And I find it amazing that people don't have an end.
Yep. 100%, Jim. And I'm not going to get spiritual or religious on our audience here, but there's actually, there's a verse in the Bible that talks about the love of money. It talks about the eyes of man being never satisfied. Right. Mm-hmm. And just that goal, that strive to have more, because, and if I'm being honest too, and I shared with you in a previous conversation, there was a time in my life when I thought making $100,000 a year would be great. If I can make $100,000 a year, I'm set. I never need to make more than that. I can buy a nice house, buy a boat, take a vacation. I'm good. And then what happens? You make $100,000 a year and you go, oh, I made 100. I wonder what my life would look like if I made 150. And then you make 150, then you make 2, and then you make 3, and then you make $1 million, and it just goes on and on and on. And then you start hanging out with folks that like Tommy Mello, right? And you're in the room with guys like Tommy Mello, Tom Howard, Lance Bachman, all these other guys that take it to the next level. And there's always going to be somebody that's doing it better than you, that's making more than you, that has more of a life, so to speak, with money, with things than what you have.
With things.
Being able to find that balance, I think, is key. Like, number one, what is your purpose? What are you going to do with the money? If you just want to get rich just to get rich, well, you're probably going about it for the wrong reasons. If all your goal is just live in a beautiful house and buy nice fancy cars and go on fancy vacations and that's it, okay, fine, that's cool. But I personally think that's probably pretty shallow. So finding your purpose first will help build that framework around it so you don't get lost. Because, and I'm guilty of this too, and I have to put myself in check all the time, because that battle between getting lost in the race for more and putting yourself in rooms where there's guys that, I'm a $15 million a year company, right? And we're in rooms with guys that are doing 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 200. So it's like, again, going back to, what is success? What is wealth? You talk to a guy in a third world country and he'd tell you, if I can make $20,000 a year, I'd be the wealthiest man in the world.
Yeah.
It's all relative, right? So it's, anyway, I keep going off on these tangents, Jim. I apologize.
No.
This is your show, not mine.
No, it's what it's all about. It's Contractor Stories. We want to hear your story and what you believe in. And you and I are much alike in that we like the game, but we're not obsessed to a point where we're deeply in love with that game, because we also have other things in life. I have 2 children in their 20s, so they're grown. I have a wonderful wife. I have chickens. I have a dog. I have a ranch.
Yeah.
I like to play tennis. I like to ski. I like to read books. I like to write books. I am not married to my job. I love what I do. I get to meet great people like you. I get to help great contractors as well by bringing exposure to their business to the consumer, the homeowner, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. But I'm not worried about, oh my gosh, I made $20,000 less this year on my W-2 than the previous one. That would drive some people crazy.
It would, yeah.
Even a dollar less, or not growing by 100,000, just breaking even from the previous year. Even if the previous year was $500,000 in income, which is a lot of money for people. Like most people make 60,000, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the average household income, isn't it?
Yeah. And some people are, they're like, oh my gosh, if I don't grow, I'm dying. And I'm like, I don't know, man. If you grow too much, you might die. I don't know. It's really interesting. And it's refreshing to talk to someone who's done so well, who has grown a business, who has perspective, who has his feet planted in the ground and say, hey, there's more to life than killing yourself every day just to make more money. You seem to be wanting to compete with someone. And if you're competing with yourself, that's horrible. That's like living with the devil. I mean, you'll never be happy and you're probably a miserable person.
Yeah, you're right. Jim, you just made a comment. I want to circle back to that. You said there's some people that say, if I'm not growing, I'm dying. That's actually something that we say just about every meeting. I say, I beat it, not literally, but I beat that into my team. And I do believe that if you're not growing, you're done. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean just in business growth. It doesn't mean just growing your bank account. But I do believe, right, as for me, it's my faith, it's my family, it's my fitness, it's my business. Those are my 4 pillars: my faith, my family, my fitness, and then my financial, right? You want the 4 F's. If you're not growing, but so we should all as humans be growing, right? In something. But if you're just in some aspect, right? But if you're just focused on the bottom line and all you're focused on is money, well, guess what? That's all you're going to have. You're going to have money.
Yep.
And you're probably not going to have a very strong faith. You're probably not going to have a very strong family. Your fitness is probably going to struggle because that's your focus. And if that's what you want it to be, hey, I'm not going to judge you, but certainly not how I want to live my life.
I totally agree. So in 2024 last year and going into 2025 this year, I've really been working on my health. So sleep, non-negotiable. 8 hours. I go to sleep by 10 latest, sometimes 9, and wake up at 6. My diet, totally different than the average American diet. My exercise program and so forth. Because if I'm not healthy, I'm worthless to my wife, my children, my clients, my business, the people who work in my business. And that blows my mind too, because there'll be some people who abuse themselves physically and mentally and are trying to grow a business. And I'm like, I would work on you first and then go back. But I'm just 100%. Saying, right? I mean,
well, and when there's guys like me who, I haven't been, when God handed out raise, he didn't give me an excessive amount. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, right? So I need to be able to, and I'm also not the guy that's done this the right way all the time. But I've noticed in my life when I am eating healthy, I'm working out, I'm taking care. For me, faith is important. I'm putting that at a top priority. All of the other things fall into place. But when I don't do that, and I'm not taking care of my body, I'm drinking too much, I'm eating like crap, not getting enough sleep, you name it, fill in the blank. Now I'm not performing at the highest level that I can be performing at. And for me, my highest level is probably not quite as high as some of the other guys in the room that are a lot smarter than me. So it might work for them to be able to do those things and still perform well. But for myself, I notice a huge difference when I'm eating right, I'm sleeping right, I'm living right, not drinking, that sort of thing. It's like, wow, okay, like, why do I feel so good? Why do I feel so sharp? Well, look what you're putting into your body. You're actually taking care of the machine. You're not putting crap in the machine. We don't put crap in our cars, right? But we tend to do that with our bodies all the time. This is starting to go around to physical fitness.
But it's all part of how
it is all part of it. Yep.
Who we are and how we operate. And it's so important to take care of yourself physically and mentally. And it's very difficult for me to see where the average American is going. Just look at people, and it's become the standard, and people almost don't understand and they accept it now. I could talk forever about that, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to conclude now. I want to get you back on the podcast in the near future. How does that sound, Tim?
That sounds great, Jim. I'd love to. Yeah, I just looked at the clock. I can't believe the time. It's 12:17. We said we are going to wrap up at 12:15. Yep. So, gosh, the time just flew by.
It did. And I do want to have you back because I want to talk more about what we were just talking about, because it's so important for all of us. Small business owners need to understand, especially younger ones. Don't make some of the mistakes I made when I was young. I drank too much. I ate the wrong foods. I didn't think sleep was a priority. I had some bad relationships, and it's really easy when you're 82 years old like me. I do look pretty good for 82, don't I? You see?
You look great for 82.
Yeah, I know. Well, I get good sleep, and but there's a lot of people who are out there killing themselves, and there are people who are 10 years younger than me that actually look older than me. And you look great too.
Thanks,
and you
Jim.
obviously take good care of yourself, and that's important. On that note, Tim Fitzpatrick, thank you so much for joining me today on Contractor Stories. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. It's been a pleasure.